All right, folks, what is going on? This is episode 781 of the First and Frame Rate Show. I am VF Baller. Over here, we talk about Georgia Southern and Atlanta Falcons football. And we're going to talk some Kirk Cousins. We're going to talk some Atlanta Falcons because it looks like everything is lining up for this to be the case. You saw some good, I ain't gonna lie, some good signings and a pretty decent trade recently from a couple of teams. We want to talk about those and how does it line up for the Falcons? What really happens from here? It's kind of like outside of the situation of the Falcons, but you kind of get an idea of what's happening. So if this is your first time here, welcome. I could be found on YouTube and Rumble. I am also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. If you want to check out the show on the visual side, where you can actually watch me on the talk on the show, it is on Rumble. I think it's also on Spotify. Also, you can listen to the show on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. I really appreciate you guys for tuning in. I cannot thank you guys enough. If you want to follow me on X or Twitter, is at VF Baller. The website is firstandframerates.com. If you also want to donate to the show, CashApp and PayPal links are below. I really appreciate it. Let's get right into this. First and foremost, Baker Mayfield gets signed by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think he got a 3-year, $100 million contract with, I think it's like 30 something. I don't know how much guaranteed, but he got a pretty good penny. He basically got the, the Geno Smith treatment. Geno Smith kind of got a deal similar to this a few years ago. And for the most part, I think Baker deserved it. He did pretty good. I think he had like 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. They won a playoff game. And they can build around what he brings to the table. I mean, you get a couple more pieces, get the defense together. The Buccaneers are going to be a formidable foe against us, the Atlanta Falcons. With that being said, you also had Mac Jones. Mac Jones was traded from the Patriots, and he is now a Jacksonville Jaguar. He's going to be backing up, Trevor Lawrence. So that just goes to show you at this point, the Patriots are definitely in for a quarterback. They probably know who they're going to get at this point, and they're ready to roll with what they have. They got the number 3 pick. So for all intents and purposes, there's 2 quarterbacks probably off the board before we get our chance to pick a number 8. So Caleb Williams is probably going to be going to the Chicago Bears. And I don't know what they're going to do at number 2 as far as the Commanders go. But number 3, they're probably going to go with a quarterback as well because he just got rid of their quarterback. So what does that mean for the Falcons? Kirk Cousins is going to be the guy that the Falcons probably going to be looking at. I mean, I know everybody wants to talk about Justin Fields, and I'm like, well, I don't know. You don't have to give up any draft capital, to get Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, for all intents and purposes, is basically, from what I'm hearing, it's going to test the market. If you're going to test the market, everybody's eyeing him to go to the Falcons. Is he really coming? I will probably say in my gut feeling, probably maybe 80-20 yes. Everything just lines up and it makes sense. If you look at the offense that we have and the offensive coordinator that is running the show, you're going to want a Kirk Cousins type quarterback or a veteran that can, get the ball wherever it needs to be and actually make all the throws. The only thing that I will say that this will not be the case if Kirk Cousins, not just Kirk Cousins, but the situation with his medical, that Achilles at the age of 36 or something like that, and he's throwing off of that Achilles, that's going to be an issue. Is he recovering completely? Is he on the road to recovery completely? Is he's going to be the guy that can be QB1? And that's like really the only issue. So from what I see here, I mean, I don't know much. I'm just a guy behind the microphone. But my guess, if I had to guess, I would say probably 80% chance that he's going to be an Atlanta Falcon. How do I feel about it? I really put that stuff into the hands of the coordinators and the coaches. There's a few things that are totally off limits. I would say like bringing Desmond Ridder back to be QB1. That is one of them. I don't mind him being on the team, but I don't think you can bring him out there as QB1. You got to bring a quarterback in. That's just one of a few. But outside of that, for the most part, I'm okay with whatever these guys do. I think we're in good hands as far as the front office of getting the right talent around here. Now, I would say the past couple of years prior to Raheem Morris coming in, you had Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith. They swung at Marcus Mariota. They swung at Desmond Ritter, and they missed on both. Now, in my gut feeling, if you really want my gut feeling, I think that was more Arthur Smith, and Terry Fontenot was like, okay, we'll just do it. I think it was more of a situation where uh, they were more, it was 50-50, but I think, in my opinion, based on how I'm looking at how everything played out, I think Arthur Smith probably came up with the idea, and Terry Fontenot said, okay, we'll roll with it. You're the coach. I know you can coach these guys up. We'll see how it goes. And the coaching up of Mariota and Desmond Ritter just did not pan out. I mean, even with the situation with Matt Ryan their first year here, Matt Ryan did not play that bad. He just had nobody to throw the ball to. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, outside of Kyle Pitts, I mean, it just wasn't the same. So with that being said, it was more of a situation that they have to get this quarterback situation right. They got to get it right. I feel like they will. I feel like if they bring Kirk Cousins in, I think he can, process the information that the offense is trying to put together, and I think that'd be fine. The only thing I feel like is an issue is how Kirk Cousins do when it comes to actually, his health. I mean, how does that go? I mean, so that's what I'm really, really interested in, thinking about. Now, like I said, there's other situations out there, and I mean, I'm not gonna go too far into that on this episode, as far as Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. How do I feel about those two as well? I mean, to me, any of these guys are an upgrade to Desmond Ritter. And if you got to upgrade Desmond Ritter, you're in the playoffs. You got to understand, we were one game out of going to the playoffs. We were literally one game out with all of the problems that we had. So you get a better quarterback play here. And I know Baker Mayfield just signed that big contract. You still got Bryce Young with the Panthers. You got Derek Carr. He restructured his contract. So you all the quarterbacks here are, average to below average. You bring Kirk Cousins here, you got a good quarterback. He's not a below average to average quarterback. He's a good, solid quarterback. You basically got the best quarterback in the division, and you should be able to manifest that into W's. And, one man don't make a team, but you clearly see how one man destroyed a team. I ain't gonna say destroyed. Well, unless if you're talking about the Georgia Southern Eagles, but we're not gonna talk about that today. But just you see how one man basically, was into the whole situation of not making this team as good as they could be. You bring a quarterback like Kirk Cousins in, hell, you bring any of those other three in, you're going to have a good situation. So is he really coming? 80% in my gut feeling is like, all right, I think it's going to be a reality. We look at all these other positions. We do need pass rush. We can get that in the draft. We do need a number 2 receiver. We can get that in free agency or the draft. We need a safety. You could probably get a cornerback or a safety in free agency and just supplement what you want to do in the draft. You want to, in most cases, all teams want to draft for need. But you don't necessarily want to draft for need that you need them to be on the field right away. Yeah, it sounds good, it's cool, but for the most part, you could really, you could really hamper a team by bringing a whole bunch of guys in that you need right away, because they have to process information. Unless you got a bunch of good draft picks, or you hit on the draft in pretty much 7 rounds. Let's say you got 7 picks, if you hit on at least 4 of those 7, then you can, you can rely on those guys right away, but you got to hit on them. There's not something that's like, okay, we're just going to draft a guy and it's going to go. I mean, there's not many Bergerons walking through the door. You know what I'm saying? It's not too many Hellums walking through the door. I mean, let's just be honest. And when you look at other guys who weren't even undrafted, I mean, how many, Nate Lamons you're going to really pick up out of the free agency, or undrafted free agency pool. How do you, that takes some elite scouting. And for the most part, when you look at a lot of these picks that we've had lately, some of them have panned out okay. A lot of them are not like world beaters or top tier elite players, but a lot of these guys panned out pretty good. You look at Ebiketie, you look at Zach Robinson, you look at Troy Anderson. You look at some of these guys. Helms was a 7th round pick, came out of nowhere. And then look at him. He looked like he could probably take the position of a Richie Grant. Or put Richie Grant in another position. You just have those situations where some guys could make it, some guys can't. So do you hit right on the quarterback situation? The last two, well, I'll say two, but one went through the draft, just didn't hit. We just got to be honest with ourselves. If you're going to bring a Kirk Cousins in at the end of the day, well, I'll put it like this, to be honest. If you bring any of these quarterbacks in, maybe not Justin Fields, but if you bring any of these quarterbacks in, you may want to draft another quarterback later. I don't understand the logic. I've heard people say you bring Kirk Cousins and you don't draft the quarterback. Why not? You take a quarterback late in the 4th or 5th round if they're just sitting there. And you put them there and let them sit and see what happens. Kirk Cousins could go down again with another injury. He's older. And you really want to put Desmond Ridder back out there after that? Maybe he will learn something from Zach Robinson and all will be well, but who's willing to take that risk? It's just something to think about. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking about. Some people already think that anyway, but that's another story for another day. So with that being said, if you like this commentary, hit the like button, share this podcast, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Let me know what you guys think. Kirk Cousins really coming to the Falcons. What do you guys think? Like I said, I'm about 80-20 at this point. But looking at what happened with Baker Mayfield, looking at the fact that the Patriots are basically telling us that they're going for a quarterback at their number 3 pick. It looks like that we may get Kirk Cousins. The reason 20%, I didn't say this earlier, but the only 20% I would say not is that Kirk Cousins is not going to be because of his health, or we're going to get a quarterback at number 8. That's just the only way I look at it. I just don't know. I can be found on YouTube and Rumble, also on Anchor, Spotify, Apple, and Google Podcasts. Find me on X at VFBaller. The website's firstandframerates.com. If you want to donate, CashApp and PayPal links are below. And I'm going to get up out of here. All right, y'all. Y'all take it easy and y'all be blessed. Peace.